you know, he gets caught on tape, you know, saying some derogatory, racist things.
Did you feel like giving him a hug after?
I know.
So much for not speaking badly about the dead, because The Undertaker is no longer holding back. He is finally exposing the ugly truth about Hulk Hogan, and some of it is worse than anyone ever thought. It all started with one fake injury at Survivor Series 1991, the tombstone that never really hurt anyone. On November 27, 1991, Survivor Series became the night that shaped The Undertaker's relationship with Hulk Hogan for the next 30 years. Imagine this, a young Mark Calloway, only 24 years old, standing across the ring from the biggest name in wrestling history. The dead man was about to win his first WWF championship, but what happened after that 3-count revealed the real Terry Bollea in a way that haunted their relationship forever. This was not just another title match. It was the night The Undertaker was supposed to prove he belonged in the main event, and the night he would show himself as a true threat to the top stars. But Hulk Hogan, the prize star of the WWF, had other ideas running through his mind. What happened in those key moments showed the sneaky and controlling nature that The Undertaker says defined Hogan's whole career, a setup that started hours before the match and was planned with the skill of a master manipulator.
Back then, you know, we would usually show up noon, you know, on a TV or pay-per-view day. We show up at the arena around noon, 1 o'clock. You know, Hogan would roll in about 4 or 5. So I remember getting there about noon, and Hogan was already...
That should have been the first warning sign, brothers. When a veteran like Hogan suddenly breaks his routine and arrives earlier than usual, you can be sure something is going on in that political mind of his. The Undertaker quickly understood that something was wrong with the whole situation.
Flag number 1.
Red flag number 1, right? So he goes, hey kid, can I talk to you, right? So we go into one of the locker rooms, into the shower, right? That's where all the business was always done back in the day.
Now, brothers, for those who don't fully understand the wrestling business, the shower was seen as sacred ground. It was the place where real conversations happened, where deals were made, and where conflicts were solved. So when Hogan pulled the young Undertaker into that shower, he was preparing the stage for one of the most detailed tricks in wrestling history, and the talk that followed was classic Hogan manipulation at its best.
And I was like, Hulk, believe me. I said, I will protect you. I pride myself on not hurting people. And I promise you, I will have you so tight that there's no way possible that you're going to hurt you.
Listen to that. Brothers Hogan was already planting seeds of doubt in The Undertaker's mind. He wasn't just asking for protection. He was building a story that would help him long after the match ended. The young dead man, always the professional, gave Hogan exactly what any respectful wrestler would give a veteran. He told him, Hulk, trust me, I will protect you. I take pride in not hurting anyone, and I promise you'll be so safe that there's no way you'll hurt your neck. But that still wasn't enough for Hogan. All day long, he kept repeating the same story, keeping The Undertaker's focus locked on this so-called neck problem. Every time they crossed paths in the hallway, Hogan would remind him, remember, my neck, brother. The mental game was in full swing, and The Undertaker was walking right into Hogan's trap. Then came the end of the match, the moment that revealed everything. Ric Flair slid a chair into the ring, and The Undertaker lifted Hogan for the tombstone piledriver. When he picked him up, Hogan was locked in tighter than Fort Knox, completely safe. Boom, The Undertaker dropped the tombstone with the precision and care of a real professional, leaving no chance of injury. But the second his knees touched the mat, Hogan broke into an Oscar-level act, shouting, "Oh, you got me, brother." My neck and my back, as Hogan rolled around like he'd been smashed by a truck. The Undertaker was heartbroken, thinking he had seriously hurt the company's biggest star. Imagine it, brothers, a 24-year-old kid reaching the peak of his career by winning the WWF Championship, only to be crushed with guilt, believing he had injured Hulk Hogan. That guilt ate him alive, and it showed the difference between a real professional and a master manipulator. Hogan's mind games had worked perfectly.
Point during the day, I'd pass him in the hall or whatnot, I'd get the, remember about my neck, right? So that's all I got all day. It was.
The backstage scene that followed was pure theater, brothers, and Hogan played the lead role to absolute perfection.
I am much like, you have all these, I'm 20, was 24, 25 years old, and I just crushed Hulk Hogan, right? That's
Picture this, brothers. The Undertaker, filled with worrying and convinced he had caused real damage, rushed backstage to check on Hogan, only to find the Hulkster lying on Vince McMahon's office floor, surrounded by paramedics, giving the performance of his life.
I go backstage and where I was asking, where's Hulk at, right? And he's laying on Vince's office.
And the drama kept growing, with Hogan stretching every moment for maximum effect. The Undertaker ended up standing behind a wall with Shane McMahon, forced to listen as the over-the-top act played out in front of them, but Shane, who had watched the whole match closely from ringside, was trying to tell The Undertaker the truth.
Telling me, he's like, Mark, he goes, his head wasn't anywhere close to touching that mat. And I'm like, no, man, I just couldn't hear it. I was like, no, man, I heard.
The Undertaker was so consumed with guilt and worrying that he couldn't even take in what Shane was trying to tell him. Hogan's manipulation had worked so well that the dead man refused to believe the truth even when it was right in front of him. This, brothers, shows the real power of Hogan's psychological warfare. It wasn't until days later, when The Undertaker finally watched the match footage, that the harsh truth came out. The evidence was crystal clear. Hogan's head never even touched the mat during that tombstone piledriver. The whole injury claim was nothing but a lie, a carefully planned act of manipulation created to serve Hogan's political agenda.
So I finally got to see, but by now a lot of the boys had come up to me and they're like shaking their head like, his head never got anywhere close to the mat. And you watch it back, you can tell his head never.
The revelation placed The Undertaker in an impossible position, brothers. He was still fairly new to the business, yet now he faced the challenge of calling out the biggest star in the company over an obvious lie, and the political backlash from that could have ended his career before it had even truly begun.
The greenhorn, right? I mean, and now I've got to confront, the face of wrestling, the biggest draw, ever. And now I've got to figure out what I'm going to do here. Like, as a man, I got to know what the hell, but I also know that it's risking my professional career.
When The Undertaker finally built up the courage to confront Hogan about the clear deception, the answer he got shaped their relationship for the next 30 years. The showdown took place in San Antonio, and Hogan's excuse was just as weak as his integrity.
Barry, I watched it back. Your head never hit. He's like, well, brother, what it was you had me so tight that when we came down, I had nowhere to move. And that's what jammed my neck, because I couldn't move at all. You're cute.
Hogan actually tried to blame The Undertaker for being too professional, claiming that protecting him so well during the move had somehow caused the problem. The audacity was unbelievable, but it revealed to The Undertaker everything he needed to know about the real Terry Bollea.
Here's the situation with me and Hulk Hogan. It's just, we've been acquaintances at best. Never been best friends, never been friends. Just a business type thing on the television. His real name is Terry Bollea. My real name is Randy Poffo, and he disrespected me and my family through the media waves.
Hogan actually tried to blame The Undertaker for being too professional, claiming that protecting him so well during the move had somehow caused the problem. The audacity was unbelievable, but it revealed to The Undertaker everything he needed to know about the real Terry Bollea. That moment of clarity changed everything for The Undertaker. Brothers. The mask was broken, and he now saw Hogan for what he truly was, a master manipulator, willing to sacrifice anyone and anything to protect his own position. The political fallout of Hogan's deception became clear just 6 days later at this Tuesday in Texas, where The Undertaker was forced to drop the title back to Hogan. Wrestling journalist Jim Cornette later described Hogan's actions as a classic veteran trick used to guilt younger stars and cut short The Undertaker's first title reign. This incident at Survivor Series 1991 wasn't just about one match or one lie. Brothers, it was the start of a pattern that would define Hulk Hogan's career for decades. The Undertaker's revelation exposed the political games and manipulative tactics Hogan used to stay on top. But this was only the beginning of the ugly truth. What The Undertaker discovered in 1991 would be nothing compared to the scandals and controversies that later defined Hogan's career, showing a trail of deception far beyond the ring. If you thought The Undertaker's story was shocking, you haven't seen anything yet. The tricks Hogan used inside the ring were just the surface compared to the wave of scandals that followed. The first major crack in Hogan's image came in the early 1990s when the steroid scandal rocked the wrestling world. The US government launched a huge investigation into steroid use in the WWF, charging Vince McMahon with supplying steroids to wrestlers. As the company's face, Hogan was dragged into the controversy, and what he admitted under oath destroyed the clean image he had spent years building. When Hogan took the witness stand, his words were explosive. He admitted to using anabolic steroids for over a decade, saying he had started in the 1970s to build the muscular body that became his trademark. The man who built his career as a role model for kids openly confessed 2 years of illegal drug use that fueled his rise to stardom. But the steroid scandal was only the start of a long history of lies that followed Hogan throughout his career. His reputation for bending the truth became legendary in wrestling circles, with stories ranging from claiming he auditioned for Metallica to saying he discovered The Undertaker. These weren't harmless exaggerations, they were lies designed to boost his legacy at the expense of others. And the most damaging revelation came from Randy Savage, who never held back when talking about his relationship with Hogan.
The wuss. You see what I'm saying? He goes on the airwaves and he disrespects me. He gives me a shot over the radio, gives me a shot over the TV, he gives me a shot over the internet, here and there, but nothing face to face. Nothing face to face. Nothing face to face. You got it?
Savage's frustration with Hogan's cowardly behavior was undeniable, brothers, and the intensity was clear every time he spoke about it.
Allegations in that lawsuit state that approximately 6 years ago, the Clems secretly videotaped Mr. Hogan having private, consensual, intimate relations in a private bedroom. Mr. Hogan had no knowledge that he was being videotaped. He did not consent to the taping because he didn't know about it, and he would never have...
You got it, brothers. But all of these controversies were nothing compared to what exploded in 2012 when the infamous tape scandal shook the media world. The shocking footage of Hogan with Heather Clem, the wife of his close friend Bubba the Love Sponge, was leaked to the public, and what made it even more devastating was the deep betrayal at its core. Hogan had been secretly recorded by someone he trusted as a close friend, and the legal fight that followed was fierce, with Hogan's lawyer exposing the full scale of the deception.
You lowlifes, all you scumbags, all you drug dealers, and all you crooked politicians need to answer one question, brother. What you gonna do when Donald Trump and all the Trumpomaniacs run wild on you, brother?
Hogan sued Gawker Media for $100 million, claiming invasion of privacy and emotional distress, and the case turned into one of the most high-profile legal battles of the decade. In the end, the jury awarded him $115 million in compensatory damages and $25 million in punitive damages, a crushing decision that forced Gawker Media into bankruptcy and shut down its operations. But brothers, the real shock from the scandal wasn't the tape itself, it was what Hogan said during those private moments that nearly destroyed his career forever. In 2015, transcripts from the tape were released, exposing some of the most offensive and racially charged language imaginable. Hogan was heard using the N-word several times while complaining about his daughter Brooke's dating choices, and the backlash was immediate and devastating. WWE quickly cut all ties, canceled his contract, removed his profile from the Hall of Fame, pulled his merchandise, and erased every mention of him from their website. The very company that had built Hogan into a global icon completely disowned him within hours. Forced to respond, Hogan issued his first public apology, saying, "I'm not a racist, but I never should have said what I said. It was wrong. I'm embarrassed by it. People need to realize you inherit things from your environment and where. I grew up with South Tampa, Port Tampa, a rough, low-income neighborhood. But brothers, the damage was already done." And the racist comments weren't the only shocking part of those tapes. Hogan was also caught using homophobic slurs while discussing storylines for his reality show Hogan Knows Best. This revealed someone whose private views were completely at odds with the family-friendly public image he had spent years building. The Undertaker's reaction to these controversies said it all. When the racial scandal hit, he wasn't shocked. He had seen the real Terry Bollea back in 1991, and everything since only confirmed what he already knew. The controversies only grew louder when Hogan openly supported Donald Trump's presidential campaigns, with his appearance at the Republican National Convention standing out as especially embarrassing, brothers, as he delivered a strange rant that sounded more like a wrestling promo than a serious political speech.
When I saw him, he was no-selling it and pushing his beer.
Did you feel like giving him a hug afterwards?
I know.
The Undertaker's cold assessment continued.
Hey man, I got feelings. I got feelings for people. Like, sometimes in life, things come back.
Hogan sued Gawker Media for $100 million, claiming invasion of privacy and emotional distress, and the case turned into one of the most high-profile legal battles of the decade. In the end, the jury awarded him $115 million in compensatory damages and $25 million in punitive damages, a crushing decision that forced Gawker Media into bankruptcy and shut down its operations. But brothers, the real shock from the scandal wasn't the tape itself, it was what Hogan said during those private moments that